everybody. So, as you've probably heard by now, the New York Rangers have placed defenseman Tony DeAngelo on waivers. And that this has become one of the biggest stories in hockey, as there's been so much talked about this whole saga, this whole situation with him and the New York Rangers, and just all kinds of things going on there. And normally I don't talk about this kind of stuff. I try to avoid it as much as I can, but this has become such a big story that it's really hard to ignore. So I just want to put my thoughts out there on this whole situation, everything going on with DeAngelo, and just kind of just say my piece about all of this. So where to even start with this whole thing? I guess the first thing that I want to say is that I'm not a political person at all, and I don't care where you are on the political spectrum, whether you're on the right, left, anywhere in the middle. It really doesn't matter. What matters to me is how you treat people and how respectful you are, and just how you are as a person. And everything that we have heard and seen so far about Tony DeAngelo makes it seem like he is just not a good person. He just comes off as a complete a-hole. Even his own teammates usually don't like him, and we'll get more into that. And he just seems to be a problem everywhere that he goes. So to me, it's really not political. It's just whether or not he's a decent human being, and it seems like he is not. And he's had a lot of issues throughout his career, even going all the way back to junior hockey. He just isn't. Nothing that I've seen makes it come across that he's a decent, good person. It's just he's an ass, and he's caused problems pretty much everywhere that he's gone. And that's the big thing. It's one thing to have all the Twitter issues and how you treat people on the outside and stuff like that. But I think the biggest problem for the New York Rangers is that he doesn't even treat his own teammates properly. He doesn't even treat his own teammates with respect. And that, I think, is really one of the biggest things that caused his downfall here, is that he's not even a good person to his own teammates. And that will absolutely rip a locker room apart. And that will sink a team. And, that I think is one of the biggest things that really led to him being put on waivers, is the fact that it's with his own teammates. If you're not liked in the locker room, if you're causing problems in the locker room, you are not going to last very long, because that will ruin a whole team's season and destroy a locker room. And he's been a locker room disturbance pretty much everywhere that he's gone. So that I think was the main problem here. And then obviously the news after the last game against the Penguins, him getting in a fight with goaltender Alexander Georgiev in the hallway on the way back to the locker room. He wasn't waived over that one incident. I think that was just the final straw that really pushed everything over the edge and led to the Rangers finally just saying, all right, we're done with this guy. He's not on our team. He's not going to play anymore. He's gone. Obviously you cannot have a situation like that where your defenseman is initiating an altercation with your starting goaltender. That's a brutal situation. And I think that's the final straw, but this was a long time coming. It wasn't that one thing that led to this. It's been a long time coming with Tony DeAngelo. It's just been problem after problem after problem compiling on each other. And finally the Rangers have said, that's it, we've had enough. And they want to get him out of that locker room if they can, and just rid themselves of the disease here. Because he's been an absolute cancer everywhere that he's gone. And it just comes down to the fact that he's not a good person, not even to his teammates. And you just can't have that in a locker room. You can't. These guys have to be family. They have to be brothers. That they have to be all in together. And obviously not everyone in the locker room is going to be best friends, but they have to be able to function as a team and be at least tolerant and tolerable with each other, and for everything to work. And it seems like DeAngelo has just been the common issue here everywhere he's gone in his pro career. And the other thing about it is his play on the ice has not been good this season. Last year he had a career year. He had over 50 points. He led the Rangers defensemen in scoring. He had a really, really good season. I think the story might be a little bit different this year if he was still performing that way on the ice, But through the first 6 games that he played this season, he only had 1 point and was -6 on the season. So, I think this might be a little bit different if DeAngelo has 2 goals, 6 assists for 8 points and is +5 to start the year. I think this story might be a little bit different. But when he's playing this poorly and he's causing all of these issues in the locker room, then, obviously something needed to be done. And I think DeAngelo's always kind of been a liability in the locker room, but last year he was an asset on the ice. Now he's a liability in the locker room and a liability on the ice. That makes it a whole lot easier for the Rangers to get rid of him. So just overall, it seems like he's not a good person, and it's not, for me, it's not about his politics. I don't care which side of the aisles he's on politically. I just care about if you're a good person and a good teammate, and he doesn't appear to be either of those things. Everything that we've heard about this guy has been pretty much bad. Teammates have a lot of issues with him. A lot of teammates don't like him. Obviously, he's had the whole Twitter issues. He's had, doesn't really treat people outside of the locker room well. Just the outside world, he doesn't treat well. He seems like a complete a-hole. And that is not doing him any favors. So I highly, highly doubt that he gets claimed on waivers. I don't think really any team wants anything to do with him at this point in the NHL. The Rangers just signed him to a 2-year deal this past offseason. So for them to really get out of this, they're either going to have to buy him out or somehow get a mutual contract termination or something like that. But I think Tony DeAngelo is headed to the KHL sooner rather than later. I think he's pretty much worn out his welcome in the NHL. I think the Rangers were more patient with him than most teams. And I think a big reason for that is because he played so well last year. But with his horrid play and horrid issues off of the ice this year, I think that he became a double liability, and that made it really easy for the Rangers to want to move on here. So they've placed Tony DeAngelo on waivers. They've finally had enough. I think the whole league at this point has had enough. I'd be very, very, very surprised if he ends up somewhere else and actually plays in the NHL. I think it's very, very likely that he's going to end up in the KHL sooner rather than later. And I just think he's just been a problem his entire career. He's been a problem everywhere he's gone, and he's just finally worn out his welcome, and the league is done with him. So we'll see what happens. I normally don't touch these kinds of situations and these kinds of topics, but I just wanted to get my opinion out there and talk about the whole situation a little bit. And again, I guess the main point that I want to come away with from this is that it's not about politics. It's not about who you voted for. It's about treating people with respect and treating your teammates with respect. And he doesn't even seem to be able to do that. And he doesn't even seem to treat his teammates well. And if you're a bad teammate in the locker room, the team is, cannot afford to have that, because like I said at the beginning, that will destroy a team. That will absolutely destroy a team. So he needed to go. He's been a big problem, and we'll just see where he ends up. I think it's going to be the KHL. But there's my thoughts on the Tony DeAngelo situation. Like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon merchandise store and donation link are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.